Lord Voldemort is a powerful dark wizard who seeks immortality and domination of the wizarding world, founding the Death Eaters and waging war against those who oppose him. And his story is inseparable from Horcruxes, the prophecy about a child who could defeat him, and his fatal misunderstanding of love and sacrificial protection. Before the name became a symbol of terror, it was a choice, one made with theatrical precision. Voldemort's birth name is Tom Marvolo Riddle, and at 16 he reveals the anagram I am Lord Voldemort from his name to announce his chosen identity. That transformation is more than wordplay. It's a declaration that the person he was will be replaced by the person he intends to be, and it foreshadows a lifelong pattern of concealment and reinvention. Many people think Tom Vorlost Riddle is the canonical form, but the provided sources specify that Tom Vorlost Riddle is not used in the English language novels or the official writing by J.K. Rowling pages, and that in the primary canon novels, it's Tom Marvolo Riddle. Canon roots that identity in a lineage Voldemort spends his life trying to control, and a heritage he also tries to erase. He is half-blood. His mother is Merope Gaunt, a witch descended from Slytherin, and his father is the muggle Tom Riddle. The provided sources don't specify this, but the emotional charge of that fact is clear in what follows. Tom Riddle grows into Lord Voldemort while hiding and rewriting the truth of his origins. Dumbledore believes that Merope likely ensnared Tom Riddle Sr. with a love potion, but this is framed as interpretation rather than absolute fact, and the relationship is understood to have collapsed when the coercion ended. Canon never fully clarifies whether it was definitely a love potion versus other coercion, because even Dumbledore's strongest suspicions are presented as inference, not confirmation. From the earliest point we can track, the timeline begins in loss and displacement. Born to Merope Gaunt and Tom Riddle Sr., Tom is raised in a muggle orphanage after Merope dies, shortly after childbirth. Canon never fully clarifies the exact birth date or year, offering circumstances and memories rather than a precise date. In the books, Mrs. Cole, the head of the orphanage, says that Merope arrived on New Year's Eve and gave birth to Tom an hour later. However, it is generally assumed that this was on December 31st, 1926. At Hogwarts, Tom is sorted into Slytherin and becomes a model student publicly, exceptionally talented and charming, while privately cruel and predatory. And among the powers that shape his legend is one that opens literal doors in Hogwarts' deepest history. He is a Parselmouth, able to speak to snakes, and he uses that ability to access and control the Chamber of Secrets. While still at school, at age 16, he opens the Chamber of Secrets, frames Rubeus Hagrid, and the school believes the threat ended, with Hagrid expelled. At the same time, Tom preserves a version of himself in his first known Horcrux, Riddle's Diary, a dark insurance policy that will later prove just how far his obsession with immortality has already gone. The diary later nearly drains Ginny Weasley's life and attempts to restore a young Riddle, showing how Horcrux magic can do more than preserve, how it can act, manipulate, and try to return. And Horcruxes are central to Voldemort's strategy because they are central to his fear. He creates multiple Horcruxes by splitting his soul through murder, aiming to become effectively immortal. The mechanics are stark in principle and deliberately shadowed in detail. Canon confirms the soul is split by murder and enclosed via dark magic, but the exact Horcrux-making procedure is intentionally omitted, and canon never fully clarifies the full method beyond the concept and requirements. After leaving Hogwarts, Tom Riddle disappears from public view for years, delving into dark magic and seeking methods of immortality. He works at Borgin and Burke's, using the job to hunt valuable magical artifacts connected to Hogwarts history. He returns to Hogwarts after school to request the defense against the Dark Arts post, and is refused. Canon never fully clarifies what exactly Voldemort did during his missing years, beyond the broad truth that he traveled and pursued dark magic, leaving the most formative stretches of his transformation partially unseen. Then comes the first rise to power. Voldemort builds the Death Eaters and terrorizes Wizarding Britain, murdering widely. The Death Eaters become his inner circle and terror apparatus, summoned by the Dark Mark, binding the movement to him not only through ideology and fear, but through a system of control. His defenses and safeguards expand in parallel. He uses dark constructs and enchanted protections, including inferi used as guardians connected to his Horcrux protections. Literal corpse soldiers stationed as expendable barriers between the world and the fragments of his divided soul. Many people think Voldemort was a pure-blood supremacist because he was pure-blood, but the provided sources correct that directly. He's half-blood, with a witch mother and a muggle father, and he hides and rewrites that truth. Many people also think the love potion made him incapable of love, but canon only gives Dumbledore's interpretation of coercion and symbolism and does not state a magical cause and effect that permanently removes the capacity for love. What the sources do emphasize is a different limit, one that functions less like a curse and more like a fatal blind spot. Voldemort repeatedly fails to understand the protective power of sacrificial love and is portrayed as incapable of genuine remorse, and both are central to why his plans fail. That failure becomes catastrophic at the point his story collides with the prophecy about a child who could defeat him. The attack on the Potters is a hinge in the timeline. He tries to kill baby Harry, the curse rebounds, and Voldemort loses his body. Many people think he died in Book 1 and came back from the dead in Book 4, but Book 1 frames him as not truly dead, just bodiless and weak. And Book 4 is a body restoration rather than a return from death. In the aftermath of his first defeat, he exists in a weakened state and possesses Quirrell to pursue the Philosopher's Stone, demonstrating a grim survival mechanism. In his parasitic state, he can attach to and inhabit another body. Even the tools he wields become part of the larger pattern, connections that bind him to the very opponent he cannot fully understand. Voldemort's original wand is you with a phoenix feather core, brother to Harry's wand, and that brother-wand relationship becomes central to their magical connection, including Priori Incantatem. This is not simply a detail of wand-making. It's one more example of how Voldemort's choices generate constraints, links, and consequences he fails to anticipate or interpret correctly. And so, the end is not a single duel's clever twist, but a cascade. An unraveling of a plan that depended on splitting the soul, controlling loyalty and denying the power of what Voldemort dismisses. Many people think he could never have been beaten until someone killed him with a special weapon, but canon shows the win condition as destroying Horcruxes, restoring mortal vulnerability, and the backfire born of wand allegiance and misunderstanding, not a single chosen blade or spell. With Horcruxes destroyed and wand allegiance misunderstood, Voldemort's killing curse rebounds, and he dies. The provided sources don't specify this, but the shape of the tragedy is plain. In trying to make himself impossible to end, he makes himself impossible to stabilize, and the mechanisms he trusts most, soul-splitting, control, and fear, become the very pathways through which he is defeated. Lord Voldemort's legend is often told as a story of unmatched power, but canon's sharper portrait is of power pursued without limits, and the price of that pursuit. Tom Marvolo Riddle remakes himself at 16, hides the half-blood truth of Merope Gaunt and Tom Riddle, turns murder into a method through Horcruxes, builds the Death Eaters under the Dark Mark, survives bodiless through possession, returns to seize the Ministry, and still falls because he cannot grasp sacrificial love, cannot access remorse, and misjudges the loyalties woven into the world he tries to dominate.